to another episode of Beyond the Mortgage. I'm your host, Tracy Valko, mortgage expert and personal development enthusiast. I'm excited today because I got a very dear friend of mine with me, creative director of Ritz Homes, Nerea Garcia. She is award-winning and creates so many fabulous designs for homes, helping families and individuals, just creating a beautiful space to be able to live in. And Nerea, I've known you a long time, and I'm so grateful to have you on my show today.
Thank you for having me. No, it's exciting.
The first thing I want to talk about is your journey of becoming a creative director for Ritz Homes. And, prior to that, maybe you can talk a little bit about that history.
Mm-hmm. Well, it started, I think I was in my early 20s. I was going down a very different career path. But I always knew I was creative. I used to drive my mom crazy because I would be painting my room, reupholstering my headboard if I didn't like it, buying fabric. So the career path I was going into, I kind of knew it would make me money, but it wouldn't be something I would enjoy doing. So I took a little bit of a break after school, and somebody that I knew owned a kitchen company, kitchen and baths, and they said, you know what, why don't you come? I'm going to train you. You're really good with customers. Let me train you on design. And I was there for 7 years, and I loved it. I loved working with builders. I loved working with clients because I always thought I am designing something that they will use every day and they will make such amazing memories in. And then I worked for a builder in sales for a little while, 2 years. And I didn't love that so much. Mm-hmm. Still loved working with the homeowner, but I did love the process of building. And so I went back to kitchens and cabinetry, and then I did some cabinets for a local builder, a really large builder. And he said to me, why don't you think a little bit bigger? I have this position. It's doing an entire home. And I was really nervous because I'm like, okay, I know about construction, but like doing an entire home from foundation up. But I thought, if not now, like when? So I took the jump, and then the rest is kind of history. I just kept going with new home construction, and I found that that was where my passion was because it's creative, but it's also helping people. And I really do think that I am privileged that I get to work with homeowners in designing the space that they will make every memory in, they will live in. It'll be their biggest investment. For most of us, it's our biggest investment,
Absolutely.
Right? Like most of us aren't buying yachts and planes. Our home is everything we put into it, and I get to help them through it. So it's a really good feeling. It is my dream job.
And I think what's so fun about it, Nerea, when I look at what you do is because you're creating such a happy space for people. And to your point, it's something that's going to be lifelong lasting because their home is, where they stay in, whether it's 5 or 10 years or 20 years. And now more days people are staying in even longer, right? It becomes that generational home. It's a beautiful way to be able to give people tribute. And I think that's why you and I connected so much when I first met you, is because we are passionate about the community and giving back and being able to make that difference. And what I love about Ritz Homes and what you and Paul, so Paul is the founder of Ritz Homes, what the both of you do really pivot well on is understanding the needs of the client, their family, but also the needs of the environment we're in, whether we're pivoting in different economic times. And when we first met, it was a very, very busy market.
Yes.
And realistic, we didn't even have a lot of time to talk because you guys were really, really going at quite a fast pace and building quite a bit. And so you're in the Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge area, but I know you are on the outskirts as well. You have different pockets of really niche communities that you've aligned with to be able to build. And I've seen the customization and the care. And what I love is the fact that a lot of builders nowadays won't meet the actual clients in person. And I know Paul and specifically yourself will do that with each and every one, which I think is a beautiful way to be able to not only showcase why you love it, but also to help with reciprocal new clients coming in because they're going to see that beautiful experience that a family's having.
And I think that is the cornerstone of how we are now, and every business evolves. And Paul, he's the owner of Ritz Homes, and he started in 2006. So his business model has changed, and there's been times where he was maybe more high volume, like when the the economy was different. Sometimes you weren't even meeting the homeowner until selections, and it was such a quick process. So I think what is positive about the change now is you look at your business and, okay, what did we love then? What do we love now? And what we realized is for us to have a successful business, you have to do what you're good at. And we are really good building homes for people specifically, not a number of homes. Like our goal is not 70 homes this year, because then you lose everything that's good about what you do. And Paul will meet with homeowners, and we design our floor plans, but everybody is so different. So we know that even though we take a lot of time and care designing our floor plans, somebody's going to come and be like, you know what, I really need another bathroom, or I never seem to have enough linen closets. So Paul will meet with them, I will meet with them and go through options. And we customize the house for them. So the square footage might not change. So it's not like our price is changing, but the layout is changing for them because it has to work for them, right? So that is something really important to Paul. And then for myself, I built my first home, and I will never forget the experience because I was 24 and I did my selections, and it was a big builder. Like they weren't doing 5-10 homes a year. They were doing 50 homes a year. But their selection process was with the realtor in a basement. And it was quick, and you could just tell it was like, okay, can you get this done? And I thought, okay, I was building a semi-detached home at the time, but that was everything I had. I had saved so much money. And that was when it was easier. You know, there was free down payments and there was a lot of incentives, but it was still very difficult to be able to afford it. And I thought, the experience was lackluster, so that always stayed with me. And now I'm very client-focused. What is your experience from start to finish? How good do you feel when you move into your home, and then even after you move into your home? Because we have built homes for people more than once, and we have built homes for family members, or we were referred by a friend. And that, you can't buy that sort of marketing because they already come with confidence because somebody else had such a good experience. So I think that's where we are now and where we're hoping to grow, in that we want to give people the experience that if you go buy a really, really high-end product, you know, the care that is given to you, we want that experience whether you're building an 1,800 square foot house or a 3,000 square foot house, because that's your home. And we want everyone to be like, we love the experience of building a home.
And I love that because I think that you're really pivoting to where the needs of a buyer that is buying a new construction. Because to your point, especially in our industry on the finance side, we continuously, when I look at new builds and the conversation that we've had with clients and individuals, one of the biggest, I think, challenges people have is they get tainted on the process because they don't feel like they get the personalization from the builder or the team. And at the end, when they get into their home, the finished product is not something that they're overly happy with.
Right.
Because they haven't had that one-on-one customization. And I think that's what you and Paul and your team do really, really well, like exceptionally well.
Thank
in
you.
A market where most builders, I'd say almost all of them don't, even if it is, you know, the luxury end builders, they're still not taking the care of being able to understand the needs of the clients. And we have to kind of pivot back to that in a market where we're seeing challenges, especially in the new build side. Not as many builders are building the amount of capacity. But to your point, what I love what you said is it's not about the number of homes that you're building. It's about the quality. And it's about making sure that you have the right fit for yourselves and also the client, that it's a marry of being able to make sure that the gifts that you guys bring, you know, it exemplifies what that client's needs are. So let's talk about that, because everybody knows it's not a secret out there that the market has changed. It has become more challenging. But let's talk about the pivots, because, and this is why I did really want to bring you on the show, is because I really want listeners to understand that, you know, there are some great opportunities out there, even in new construction. And I think you and Paul do it really, really well because you've pivoted. And let's talk about how you've pivoted on the builds that you currently have right now to navigate the certain family environments that we have today.
People's needs are different today than they were 10, 15 years, even 5 years ago. The other thing that has really changed since COVID is people are so experience-based. They want to be around people. They want spaces that feel really good. And I've noticed it in everything. If you go to restaurants now, it's very different than a restaurant before. It's all about the photo ops, how you feel in the space, the ambiance. Stores. Some of my favorite stores that I go in, they will sell the same thing that another store sells, but you go in, it's aesthetically beautiful, the service is amazing, they get to know you, even though they're doing a lot of volume. Every time I walk into this one particular store, they know my name, and it's not like I'm shopping every day, but it's, you feel good going in. And their service is so good. And even as a business model, the follow-up emails, the questionnaires, everything. I wanted to apply that to building. And the other thing is we had to look at how is a family dynamic changing now and what can make a home work now and in the future for people. So us, for instance, we have 4 kids between the 2 of us. We're a blended family. And the reality is that, we're hopeful they're all going to university and they're all going to be very successful. But then the other reality is that homes are not priced the way they were before. So very likely they're going to be living with us for a while as they get started, etc. That's the reality for a lot of people. So having a side entry into a basement, we decided that's going to become our standard. So that you can make an apartment or a second dwelling or just another place to hang out where you're not going through the main home. And that became really important to us as we saw the needs of people changing. So whether you want to have another family member living with you, whether your kids are going to live with you for a while, whether you want to use it as an investment property while your family dwelling is above. So we did that. And then the other thing that we looked at is house prices are what they are. And obviously everybody's trying to run a profitable business. But when you sell a product like a home, and then it's a very high price bracket, but if your standards are really basic, it's such a frustrating experience because when you're looking at the 1.1, the 900,000, that's an insane amount of money. And then you go do your selections and it's like, oh, this is the only thing included. You have to pay more for everything else. I've worked that business model and it's very frustrating. I remember the experience with the homeowner thinking like, oh, now I have to spend all that much more money. So what we decided in our structure is we are going to include very nice standards. We are going to include more than anyone else on the market because we want that experience. Once you buy a home from us, you do not have to go ahead and spend infinite amount of money to make it your own because what we include is really high quality. It's up to date. We're not giving you a standard that's really outdated. And I think it really resonated with people that we were really thinking about their needs and that they didn't feel like the purchase price was just one of many things they had to pay for later.
So what are you finding when you're looking? Because I love that. I think that's amazing. And it's interesting to me that other builders prior to didn't come up with something like that because it's been such a bone of contention for a lot of people. Yes. And I built custom homes and, have had horrendous experiences with other builders in the past because of that. So I can totally relate to a lot of clients, especially if they're first-time home buyers, they're excited and they're not getting. So I love the fact that you're actually doing that. And so what are you finding right now are the trends that people are looking for in their homes besides the side entrance? Let's talk about design-wise, too. Are you noticing? Is it really differentiating depending on a family unit? Is it multiple family units that you're seeing that structure or design change?
Comfort is huge for people. And comfort can come out of your aesthetics, what it looks like, but also how it functions. I don't use the word function as much anymore when I'm talking to people. It's more what's comfortable for you, what's comfortable for your family. So we're seeing a lot more bathrooms, to be honest. And I always think back when I grew up, we had one bathroom. Everybody and that's not the case anymore. We don't have any house plans that don't have a principal ensuite, as well as a main bath and sometimes ensuite 2, ensuite 3. And that comes to also that perhaps you're having your mom live with you. So you want them to have their separate space. But also that families are so busy now. Kids are playing sports and activities more than ever. It's much more of a hustle culture. People are trying to simplify their day. So if you have the kids have their own bathroom and they're not coming in your space in the morning, you can get ready quicker. So those are the kind of things that we're seeing. Mud rooms, a place to put everything, again, because you have soccer bags, hockey this, and everything. And really open concept is still, it has been for a while, but I find people want that. They want to be in the kitchen. Their kids can be watching a show, but you're together. And so I think that is really, really where people are leaning towards.
Are you finding people coming where they want a finished basement, or is that something that you have as an option for people?
We do, and we do finish basements for people. Sometimes they just want the infrastructure in place, so the side entry, the rough-in for wet bar, the rough and fur bathroom. They want that in place so that they can do it later, or sometimes they're asking us to finish it because they don't want to deal with that. But it isn't everyone's mind, I will say, almost every single, and we're going through it when we do selections. Are you going to put a kitchenette here? Are you going to put a wet bar? Even if we're not finishing the basement, we have those conversations with people so that they don't have a hard time finishing it later, have to dig up concrete or whatnot. So it's definitely a conversation, whether we finish it or they do. Obviously, it's easier when we finish it because they don't have to get a permit. Everything's done when, the mess is contained. But sometimes for people, it's a project later on because, buying a house is still
expensive.
It's very expensive, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about design trends in terms of colors right now. What are you noticing this year? Is it differentiating from last year? What's changed?
It is different. It's a lot warmer. So I think gray kind of ruled for so long, and I remember doing selections, and I would, even when it was popular, I was always trying to talk people out of gray floors, gray countertops, gray cabinetry, gray couch, because it is cold. And anything that's really trendy is going to be very dated, and trends are very quick. So I look back at pictures of my mother's house, and she had the same couch for 20, 25 years. That's not the case anymore, right? Because everybody's always trying to keep up with the trends. So I try to tell homeowners, now everything's really warm, mix in a little gray, put a concrete floor in, mix it so that it's timeless versus trendy. And that doesn't mean you can't get really trendy light fixtures or furniture or accessories, but the expensive things like your tile, your hardwood, your countertops, your cabinetry, things that are going to cost you a lot of money to change out, think timeless. And that you can keep up with the trends. You can, clean lines are much more prevalent now. There's not a lot of ornate things going into kitchens anymore. But I feel like that's going to be timeless. But just don't do a color that is you can pinpoint to a year, because that means that in 5 years it will be outdated.
So, and I'm curious about this because you talked about kitchens specifically, and I know one of the trends was to have a darker, bottom counter cupboards and then lighter on the top. Is that still something that's trending, or is it more you're saying just to kind of keep it all neutral?
No. You know what? I always tell people, what do you like? And then you tell me what you like, and I'm going to try put it in a way that it's not going to look dated. Because at the end of the day, you live there. I don't live there, right? So I might not love beige. I do, but I use it as an example. But if you love it, let's give it to you. But I don't want you to do something that you're going to regret. And I think I've seen so much of it that I know I can even look at kitchens that I did 10 years ago. I'm like, I would still do that kitchen. Or I can look at a kitchen that I did for a homeowner that was very on trend then. That's what they wanted. And now it doesn't stand the test of time. So I don't like the word classic, but I love the word timeless. And I think if we go into that with every home, you can put like micro cement and plastered walls are really, really popular right now. I love it. I'm using it in our new model home. I have a couple homeowners that are doing it. It's so easy to change out later. So you're not committed. But granite countertops, quartz countertops, that's very expensive to change out. So I tell people, do something timeless, and then let's pop micro cement on your fireplace. It's going to look really up to date, and you can change it out later.
I love that. And I know you and I talked before we started the podcast about situations you've had with clients and unique spaces, depending on, because again, we're still in this hybrid kind of, world where people are working from home, or maybe they're working full time. They might have created their careers working out of their basement. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think it'll give people some ideas of the creativeness that you actually are able to bring into some of these homes, unique as a builder to be able to do that.
Yeah. So I think the basement always lends itself to an entire space that you can create anything. We had a family that their model is very online based. So they built a podcast studio and an office right there. And they actually have guests down there. And they have a really profitable business that they run entirely out of their basement. But when you go down there, it's actually a full studio, right? So when we were designing their home, we did finish the basement for them. And we went through how they work and what they needed and what track lights and everything. So that was a really interesting a project for us because we hadn't done that before. We've done definitely finished basements with a bedroom or an office. You know, I have friends that are hairstylists and they work out of their home and their basement is their salon, and it's beautiful. You go down and you don't feel like you're in a basement because it's very thoughtfully designed. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity that way. And since COVID, people are definitely doing that more. They're thinking of ways that they can have that balance where they can work from home or, you know, part-time or have a side hustle, and it's a perfect space for it.
And I agree with you on that because I think a lot of people right now are not just having one job, they're having multiple.
Yes.
So it allows that flexibility to be able to, I mean, an office has always been, I think, in the home, but it allows people an opportunity to be able to expand on that, right?
Yeah,
if they're looking
be
at
creative.
Absolutely.
And I think the side business ideas that there are now that I see, I didn't see that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I think social media really exploded what's possible. So a lot of people that I talk to are doing these great things like party decor businesses on the side. And in new construction, it's really helpful because you're not thinking about, we are going to remodel the kitchen, this, and then we'll get to that. You can do it right from the beginning.
I love that. So what are you and Paul seeing for the future right now in terms of you look into the rest of 2025 and 2026 on new builds? Are you thinking that there's going to be some hurdles that we're going to see? We know that tariffs are here. We know to what extent we're going to see. I think that's ever changing. I think that's hard on people. I think when you look at someone, and we're seeing our end on the finance side, if they're looking to buy, a lot of people actually have the money and they've been accumulating money for a down payment. But are hesitant because of the noise from social media. So what are you and Paul looking at for the future of new builds? Do you think that there'll be some enhancements? Do you think that it'll start to slowly build confidence with people to get back into that market stronger than where we're currently at?
I think so. I think at the end of the day, people need a place to live.
Absolutely.
And there are some really great opportunities in the Kitchener-Waterloo area. It's a great place to live. Our developments are in KW. We live here and we love to build here. When I look at it, rates are actually pretty good right now, and house prices have come down. If you look at the height of where things were, and houses have come down quite a bit. So I think it's actually a great time because you have a good interest rate and you have a good product at a reasonable price. I think once the economy starts moving again, I do think prices are going to go up because from a construction standpoint, you have trades and you have product, and then you have things to contend with like tariffs. So all of that raises our price up, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to have a profitable business. But prices have not gone up in, I would say, probably 2 years now. They came down and they've kind of stayed down. Our trades are trying to work with us as well, and everybody is not having those increases that we were having before because at the end of the day, you want to be working, you want to be selling. But as things change, pricing will change. So from a buyer perspective, right now looks like a really good time. It's just people need the confidence to do that amidst getting bad news. When I look at our KW as a whole, when we purchase houses, there's trades working, and those trades have families, and they're spending money. So we have to spend money to keep the economy going, but people are definitely uncertain, which I can understand. I think we have seen our business in general, we've seen a lot more families buying homes that they are living in. We're not seeing as much of the investment market, which was really big, I would say 3-4 years ago. Every homeowner that I've done selections with in the last 2 years, they're living in the home. That's where they're raising their families. So I think that's where our interest is the people that are buying our homes to live in, raise a family, and that's how we've created our whole business model. And the communities that we have lots. In the last few years, there's lots available here or there, and we're really conscious of where we're purchasing lots to build on. Paul does a really good job of seeing what's around. Is this somewhere that families are going to live, or is this somewhere where it's more investor-based? And then that's not where we go. We go to where we can build a community, have homeowners that are then going to refer us to, because they like where they live, right? So that's where we're going with things. And there's different business models for every builder, but that's our niche.
And I love it because I think that that's what needs to be built right now is residential homes for families. This is where we're short in Canada, specifically I think in Ontario. So I love the fact, and it's one of the questions you answered it, where do you go to be able to look at these lots? And I can see that with even the projects that you've done. You go to those areas where there's schools and it's a more thriving community where you can really contribute more, right? And people will feel more part of that family, which I love. Do you have any current projects that are on the go this year that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so we have one of the developments that we're just finishing up. It's in Kitchener. It's called Hills Trail. And I think we have one home left, and it's a spec home that will be listed soon. And I specifically love that community because there's trails everywhere. It's such a family community. The homeowners that we worked with there are some of the favorite that I've ever had because you get to know people very well when you're doing selections and they talk about their kids and what they do for work. And I always say at the end of it, I almost leave with a friend because then I'll get email from someone. Do you like this couch? You're buying our lights. What do you think of these? So that community in particular, I feel like is always going to have a special place in my heart. We have West Haven, which is right by the boardwalk in Iron Needles, which is where our offices are too. And I love the convenience. Since we moved our office there, I always think like, this space is amazing. Everything is there. You have a gym, you have a movie theater, you have grocery stores, little individual stores. So that community, I always think like, so easy when you're there. You need to pop out to the grocery store, it's right there. But it's kind of in a little enclave, so it doesn't seem like you're in the city. And then the other community is just released it. It's in Vista Hills. So it's behind the Costco in Waterloo, which is a stunning community. There's trails everywhere. There's Costco, which if you have a family, you know, that I think we all live there. And it's really close to the boardwalk as well. You know, something Paul is really good at is finding areas that he would want to live in. And, you know, a big family. So if we were building a new home, where would we want to be? So that's always his focus. I love an infill project, so we have a few more of those coming up. Done 2 in the last 3 years. And so an infill project is coming into an existing community. And sometimes we're, you know, a house that was there that just won't function anymore. But the lot is amazing. So we have a couple of those coming up, and those are always, I love those. Like, I love the project. Usually the people that end up being our homeowners there just really wanted to be there specifically. So it's a very special relationship when you're building a home for someone that, like, that's their dream. Makes your job just that much more fulfilling.
So let's talk about that because I think that's interesting. So I think more people are going to be doing this where they're going to find a lot they love, but know that the property actually has to be torn down because it's dated and what they want to build is something bigger than what is currently there. How does a home buyer even, because I bet you that's overwhelming for people to think about even doing. Do they approach you first on that? Is that something that Paul goes out to look at different areas, or are these people coming to you saying, okay, we found this lot, you know, in Kitchener-Waterloo or Waterloo specifically on this street? Is this something that you can do with permits? Is that usually what you're seeing right now?
Yes. So the lots we have found, or somebody has approached us knowing that we are interested in infills, and Paul will purchase the lot, and then we handle all the logistics of that because there is a lot of background, and that's where the expertise is really good in working with the township, and there's always restrictions, etc. But it sounds overwhelming, but it's so manageable. It's a different set of I don't want to say hurdles, but little things to think about before you start the building. But often what you're getting is you're in a community that otherwise you wouldn't be able to be in a new build, in a lot that is very desirable. So unfortunately, the house that's there, you know, they don't have a basement and the foundation wasn't dug to accommodate a basement, or the footprint's not big enough, or they don't have a garage, right? So it's not something you can even renovate. So removing the house, and it's a really neat experience when you're starting it. So if somebody's purchasing a lot and seeing that progress, it's a really great experience.
And I saw you do that. I think it was in Wilmot that we saw that. So that was beautiful because you did, I think, a couple properties.
Yes, we have 3 that we've done, and then a couple more that we're going to be doing.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So what's the timeline from? And if it can you have a timeline on that? I think it's depending on permits probably with the municipalities. But generally, what would be the timeline from the time that someone says, okay, this is a lot, and Paul and you say, okay, be done, to when it's actually completed?
It really depends on where the lot is. For instance, the ones that we did in Wilmot backed onto conservation. So it's not just the city that you're working with, because you can get your building permit, no problem. But with the conservation, there's different things that you have to consider. But that Timeline's a little bit different. Still fast. And I will say what I'm finding about Kitchener-Waterloo and their expediency, our permit price is much higher. Our development costs are high. They are everywhere. But I do find they're making a concerted effort at speeding up the process and getting you the answers that you want. So that is helpful. But it's a straight down build. It doesn't have to take longer than a regular build. Things like parking for trades, all that sort of thing. But that's what we contend with. It really depends what you're building, what you're backing onto, what you're removing. To be honest, I leave that to Paul because that is
for
definitely
sure.
his expertise. He does it really well. And what I love is that I get to build this beautiful home in an area that normally we don't get to build in.
And then you're really kind of reviving the neighborhood as well,
Yes.
right? Which I love because if you go there, it's amazing.
Thank you.
I love this because I feel that it's such a refreshing conversation. I think so many people are nowadays overwhelmed with social media. The stats out there tend to be on the negative and not actually look at the opportunity out there. If you have the money for a down payment and you've saved, or if you've got an existing house and are wanting to look at making a change and have some true customization and care from a builder and get that experience, I mean, I can't recommend enough Ritz Homes. You guys do a spectacular job. You're welcome. And I think the thing is that I also want to tell you that I think that if people are seeing the sidelines, to your point, rates are lower. This is an opportunity where you can spend some time with yourself, Nerea, and your team to really help people that have maybe been, a bit cautious with what's going on, really be able to get that home that they want. Because more people nowadays are staying in their home longer than traditionally before, right? Yeah. So why wouldn't you want that customization? And it looks like, from what you're saying too, you'll help kind of navigate through that. The client's not going to feel, left out or lost in terms of timeline. And I've seen the progress of your projects, and it's not where they're like years down the road. Like, it's quite quick in the sense of a new construction, right?
We don't build the fastest home, and I will tell you that. I'm sure there's production builders that are putting them up a lot faster. We build it in a timeline that we can build a quality home without it taking a year or so to complete the project. But I think something that I see with our realtors especially is homeowners asking before, so they've been to our model home, they've seen everything that's available, they've talked about price. They're asking to meet with us before they purchase. And we actually love that because we get to show what we do. We get to know you. You get to know us. You can ask the questions because there's nothing worse than uncertainty. So you buy the biggest purchase you're going to make, and you have all these dreams, and if that can't be a reality, I'm sure that's really frustrating. So we have a lot of times where our realtor will Lloyd, he'll call and say, Nerea, do you mind meeting with these homeowners? They just want to go through the selection room and ask you a few questions. Absolutely, because I want to know who's buying the home. I want to reassure them. I want to ask them. And I want to make sure, are we a good fit? Are we a good fit for you? Because, I always think a client being happy is about us managing expectations, but it has to be a good fit. And I think that anytime that people have asked to meet with us first, almost always they finalize the deal, and then we have a really great opportunity to have a relationship with them, build them their home, them being really happy. We don't close the house and never talk to you again. Like, we've had model homes opening and past homeowners are just coming to say hi. And we love that, right? Because at the end of the day, we always say we want to drive down a street that we have built and be really proud of it. And if a homeowner's outside, we want to be able to wave and say hi. And I don't know if every builder can actually do that because you don't get to know the homeowners.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's what we want to achieve.
And I love that because I'm just envisioning how proud that you and Paul and the team must be when you drive down streets and see what the beauty that you create out of the passion. I almost get chills because I can feel it and I see it in what you guys do. It's spectacular. And I think it's refreshing to see that care and process in a new build. I think it brings new energy into a much needed space. So I'm looking forward to your continued projects.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone who's listening right now, and I would strongly recommend you do take a look at Ritz Homes because it's just beautiful what you showcase online. But how can they reach out to you through social media? Yeah,
so our Instagram is Ritz Homes CA, and we have we post a lot of content, a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of our homeowner process, tips and that sort of thing, just what we do every day. So I think that's a really good place to reach out. Our website, we just redesigned and launched our new website. So there's a ton of information there, and we're very transparent. Everything is online. Sometimes people say, oh, are you nervous somebody's going to copy or this or that? Because you're putting all your product there. And we're not. We figure if somebody's copying us, we're doing something pretty well. And normally by the time they copy us, we've moved on and done something different. But yeah, to your point, I've had so many homeowners say, I can spot a Ritz home.
Yeah.
Like I can drive down a street and see which ones are yours. And I think that's always our goal, that our houses are going to stand out. People are really going to be proud to live in them.
I think it's a signature, right? It's a signature
I think so.
of what you do.
I think so.
And I have to say, for anybody who is on their Instagram, you've got the cutest dog, I think, in the whole world. So you got to check it out.
I really do.
I'm not kidding you. It might be gone soon.
Yeah. No,
I'm a
Pablo,
big dog lover.
and he's a celebrity. Yeah. He's a chow chow, and I had wanted a dog for so long. And as Paul and I were blended our family together, it's busy. We have 4 kids, and they all play sports. They're at university, they're high school, they're public schools, so we're everywhere all the time. And so Paul was more hesitant to get a dog, and I was, I will get my way eventually. And I did a lot of research on like a really sweet, low energy dog, because we have enough going on. And this dog, Pablo, he's just
so cute.
The cutest, sweetest dog. Everybody is obsessed with him. I bring him into the office, and then if a homeowner's there, they're obsessed. And then one day, if I meet with him and Pablo's not there, it's the first thing they say. They're like, "Where's Pablo?"
Yeah.
But yeah, he's our little Ritz
He's a
mascot.
little mascot,
Yes.
exactly. An influencer, I think, online.
He is.
Yeah, absolutely. But ritzhomes.ca, so make sure you go to the website, check out the Instagram. Thank you so much again, Nerea. Thank you to you and
Thank
Paul.
you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to more times that we're going to bring you on just to talk about future projects, design. Everybody loves that stuff. So it's great to know what's trending out there. And for all the listeners out there, thank you again for your time. Any questions at all, make sure you reach out, and make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and to Spotify. And stay tuned for our next episode on Beyond the Mortgage.